All right, today we're going to take a journey, a really fascinating one, through a system you count on every single second of every day, but you probably don't think about it too much, and that's your gut.
You know the feeling, right? That discomfort, the bloating, the ache. And we usually just brush it off like, must have been something I ate. But what if it's more than that? What if your body is trying to tell you something really important?
So let's dive right in. Look, to get a handle on what can go wrong, we first have to appreciate the absolutely massive job your gastrointestinal, or GI system, is doing for you 24/7. So it's easy to think of it as just, a simple tube, but it's so much more. It's really more like this incredibly advanced processing plant. I mean, it takes everything you eat, breaks it all down, pulls out all the good stuff to power your body, deals with any toxins, and then gets rid of the leftovers. It's not an exaggeration to say it's literally the engine that keeps you running.
Okay, our trip begins at the very top of the system, in the upper GI tract. And this is ground zero for two really common problems that cause a ton of discomfort: GERD and Peptic Ulcer Disease. Now, you might hear those and think they're kind of the same thing, but as you're about to see, they are worlds apart.
And here it is, laid out perfectly. GERD is all about a mechanical failure, right? Acid is splashing up into the esophagus where it just doesn't belong. PUD, on the other hand, is about actual structural damage. It's a literal wound, an ulcer that's formed in the lining of your stomach.
So if you're trying to tell them apart, here's the key thing to remember. If you get that awful sensation of food or acid coming back up into your throat, that's classic GERD. But if the pain really kicks in right after you've had a meal, that could be pointing to PUD, because the food is basically rubbing right on that raw wound.
Now here's a shocker. What causes most of these ulcers? It's not what you think. It's not stress or super spicy food. A lot of the time, it's this little guy, H. pylori. It's a seriously tough bacteria that can actually live in stomach acid and just slowly chip away at that protective lining until, boom, an ulcer forms.
And how we find it is actually pretty cool. It's not invasive at all. You drink a special little cocktail, and if that H. pylori bacteria is hanging out in your stomach, it'll eat what you just drank and burp out a specific gas. You then just breathe into a bag, they test for that gas, and if it's there, you've got an active infection. The good news? It can be treated with antibiotics.
Okay, let's keep moving. Now we're going to visit the body's main filter and detoxification hub, the liver. This organ is connected to just about everything, so when it gets hit, the fallout can be felt all over your body.
Now, hepatitis, it's a virus that causes inflammation of the liver. But, and this is a big but, not all hepatitis is the same. This chart does a great job showing the key difference: how you get it. Hepatitis A and E, you can get those from contaminated food or water, but B, C, and D are transmitted through body fluids, and that difference is huge. It's why things like the hepatitis B vaccine are so important.
So what happens when the liver stays inflamed for a really long time, either from hepatitis or something else? Well, you can end up with cirrhosis. And this is not just a little damage. We're talking about healthy, working liver tissue being replaced by scar tissue that does absolutely nothing. This just cripples the liver's ability to do its hundreds of crucial jobs. And that leads us to one of the scariest complications. You see, a healthy liver filters toxins, like ammonia, out of your blood. But a scarred, cirrhotic liver can't. So where does that ammonia go? Straight to your brain. It causes confusion, major personality shifts, and in the worst cases, can even lead to a coma. The condition is called hepatic encephalopathy.
So how do you fix a problem like that? Well, there's this great little saying that helps you remember the main treatment. A medication called Lactulose is used, and it's basically a really strong laxative. The whole idea is to get that toxic ammonia out of the body fast by making you have a bowel movement. By clearing out the gut, you literally start to clear the person's mind. Pretty amazing, right?
All right, let's continue our journey south, down into the intestines. And down here, we have to talk about a really critical difference. The difference between a gut that's irritated and one that's truly inflamed. They are not the same thing.
So first up is irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS. Now, this is what we call a functional disorder. What does that mean? It means you have very real, very frustrating symptoms, but if a doctor were to go in with a camera, the gut itself looks totally normal. There's no physical damage. It's often called a diagnosis of exclusion, meaning they rule everything else out first. And we know for a fact that stress plays a huge role here, making the gut extra sensitive.
Now, let's compare that to inflammatory bowel disease, or IBD. This is a completely different ballgame. This isn't just irritation. This is visible, physical inflammation and damage. This table breaks down the two main types beautifully. You've got Crohn's disease, which can pop up anywhere from your mouth to your anus in these little patchy spots. Then there's ulcerative colitis, or UC, which is just one big continuous area of inflammation, and it's only in the colon.
So even though they look different and show up in different places, the root cause of IBD is the same for both. It's an autoimmune disease. Your own immune system has gotten confused and is attacking the lining of your GI tract. And knowing this is absolutely critical because the way you treat it is totally different from IBS. With IBD, you need drugs that actually calm down the immune system.
Okay, so we've been on this whole tour of the gut. What's the main point? What do we take away from all this? Well, it really just comes down to one thing: learning to listen to your body and decode its signals.
And believe it or not, one of the clearest, most direct messages your gut can send is, well, it's right here. Yeah, I know, it's not something we talk about over dinner. But the color of your poop can give a doctor some incredibly useful clues.
Just think about it. If it's pale or clay-colored, that could mean you have a bile duct problem. And hey, remember ulcerative colitis? Seeing bright red blood is a huge clue for that, because it means the bleeding is happening way down low in the GI tract. These aren't just weird things to notice. They're valuable pieces of data you can bring to your doctor.
And while we're on the topic of managing things, let's talk about constipation for a sec. It's a great way to see how knowing how something works can make all the difference. Take bulk-forming laxatives. I love this analogy. They're like the leader of a conga line. They soak up water, get bigger, and that bulk just naturally encourages the intestines to get moving and push the whole line along.
Then you've got stimulant laxatives. These guys are a bit more direct. Think of it like yanking the cord to start a lawnmower. They go in and directly poke the nerves in your intestinal wall to basically force them to start contracting and get things moving now.
And finally, we have osmotic laxatives. Their trick is to pull water from your body into your bowel. This softens everything up. The best way to picture it is thinking about a dry raisin. You add water and it plumps right up, right? That's what this does to your stool, making it way easier to pass.
So when you put it all together, from the acid in your stomach all the way down to, well, the signals you see in the toilet, the message is crystal clear. Your gut is in constant communication with you. Understanding what these different conditions are, that's step one. But the real power comes from step two, actually listening to what your body's telling you. Because when you do that, you can walk into your doctor's office and have a real productive conversation. And that's how you really take charge of your own health.